Hey guys, Michael Smith here with the Bluefield Group, and today I'm sitting down with Eric Knight with Knight Property Services, and we're going to talk about something incredibly important during the home buying process, which is the home inspection. Alright, so Eric, today we're talking about home inspections, right? And really what I want to cover is what is a home inspection, right? So what are you looking for? What are you testing? What is your area of expertise? You know, not only what is a home inspection, but what is a home inspection not do, right? What does it not cover? So
Sure.
What are some of the most common things that you guys are looking for when you're inspecting a house?
Okay. Well, first of all, what a home inspection is, a home is comprised of several major systems: electrical, plumbing, HVAC, roof, structural, those things.
Right.
And so what we do during a home inspection is we come in and we're looking at each of those major systems, looking for signs and symptoms that things are not what they should be.
Okay.
And sometimes those are things that were done wrong from the very beginning. Sometimes that's problems that have been caused by outside sources over time.
Like deferred maintenance, or
could be deferred maintenance,
whatever.
Tree root growth. I mean,
Okay.
they're all different types of things.
Okay.
So that's a lot of information, a lot of things to check in during a home inspection.
Okay.
What a home inspection is not doesn't get on what I call the component level. In other words, so when we're checking an HVAC system, we don't take the unit apart and get down to the component levels. We're not HVAC professionals.
Right.
We're home inspectors.
Okay.
And so we know signs and symptoms of things that where a system is not performing like it should.
So the key there is being performance, right? So you want to make sure that it's in operable condition, that the system is working. So you're going to check to see, what's the temperature of the air coming out, when it's set to heat versus cold, and those types of things.
That's right. Yeah, we're looking at performance. We also look for visible signs that other issues may be happening. So in the instance of an HVAC unit, if we go to look at the unit in the attic and there's water in the overflow pan, or even rust in the overflow pan, that is a symptom that there's been some condensation issues.
Okay.
That condensation hasn't been handled properly, and so that's one of those scenarios where we would say this would be a good idea to have an HVAC professional come in and check and make sure that the system is performing properly.
Gotcha. The analogy I like to use when I'm talking with my clients is, the home inspector is kind of like your family physician, right? You just get the checkup, and they're gonna test your vital signs. They might take a blood sample or whatever, but your physician is not a cardiologist, right? Not a neurologist. So if they notice that it looks like there's something wrong with your heart, I'm going to refer you to go get a cardiologist. Same type of thing, right?
Right.
So,
yeah, it's a good analogy.
Hey, I'm seeing some signs there might be some structural issues here. Consult a structural engineer or an HVAC technician or whatever. Okay.
Right.
So what are some of the common issues that you find? That something that you might be able to identify that we might miss when we're just showing the house.
Okay. Well, I mean, some things are obvious to an inspector because we come in and go in certain places that you don't go in when you're showing a house.
Right.
Attics, crawl spaces, those types of things. So, there have been occasions when I go into an attic and pretty quickly I can tell there's fire damage.
Oh, wow.
At this house that no one seems to be aware that this was a part of the past for
Right.
this home.
Okay.
So obviously we report on that, and there's some further evaluation that needs to be done there.
Sure.
But there are also times when we see just little signs and symptoms. There was a home in Malden where we saw just some very small spots, started doing some moisture testing, didn't really like what we were seeing, so we said, hey, this does need some further evaluation, and that ended up being a potential $20,000-$25,000 mold issue.
Wow.
And so that client said, this isn't the house for us.
Yeah.
I think we're going to continue looking.
Okay. What about anything coming to mind with like plumbing or electrical that you might find that we might not notice?
Sure. I mean, when you're showing a house, you're not checking outlets. I mean, you do turn on the lights and that kind of thing. So we're checking every outlet We're pulling the electrical panel cover, looking for things. So there are times when we pull an electrical panel cover and find wires that are melted. They've been overheating. So,
Wow.
that's something to where, an electrician needs to come in, make sure, find out what the reason was that happened, and make sure it's not going to happen in the future. Other things, even on brand new houses from time to time, we'll go in, do our inspection, and find that there's a whole leg of electrical service that just has no power. So somewhere in the building process, a wire got cut, either with some equipment or staples, nails, that kind of thing, and you don't know until you test.
Right, exactly. Okay, well, I think this is incredibly valuable. The home inspection is one of the most important parts of the process when you're buying a home, and a lot of times it's overlooked. I've had some clients say, do I really need a home inspection? Just to save a few $100, I think it's an incredible value to get the peace of mind to know that the investment that you're purchasing is going to do well for you. And really, for a few $100, you can identify issues that could potentially, like you said, cost tens of thousands of dollars to remediate.
Sure.
And that might be the determining factor of, walking away from this contract or negotiating to have the seller correct those items prior to closing, so that when you're moving in, you're getting into a good house. That's not going to cause you all kinds of issues down the road. If you guys have any specific questions about home inspections or anything else during the process, go ahead and reach out to us by phone or email. We'd love to help you out. Eric, I appreciate your time, and we'll have to get you back for another one sometime.
Sounds great.
All right.
Thanks for the opportunity.
So I'll see you guys on the next one.